So Taylor and I enjoy playing board games. We've collected many over the years, and we enjoy taking some off the shelf and playing a little game here or two. And last week, we decided to go to a place called Tabletop Board Game Cafe. It was a cool little place that a coworker of hers told her about, and we just thought it sounds really cool, and we have to go. You pay a $5 entry fee, and you basically have access to all the board games they have, and it's a lot. The vibe of this place is so cool. There's all this weird stuff hanging from the ceiling, and it's just a very cozy atmosphere. They also make it obvious that it's a very inclusive, safe space. The walls are just lined with shelves of like hundreds of board games for you to choose from. They got them categorized by how many players you have, so you can play 2-player games or you can play games for larger groups. So Taylor and I looked around for some good 2-player games for us to play. One thing I think is cool is that if you don't really know what you're looking for, there's signs all over the place that basically say, if you like this, then try this. I think that's a pretty handy thing for people who might be overwhelmed with all the choice. By the way, let me take a quick side note here and talk about the pictures that are going to be in this video. I bought a new camera, which is what I'm currently filming this on, but I also took it with me just since it was a fun occasion and I wanted to have a little digital camera on me to take pictures. It's the Kodak PixPro C1. It's a very cheap camera, but the quality looks surprisingly decent for how cheap it is. However, that does come with the caveat that you have to hold it very, very still when taking photos, especially of things close up. Otherwise, your pictures will come out pretty blurry. I found that out when I was reviewing my photos. So, apologies for the very blurry photos in this video. I'll probably make a dedicated video about this camera in the future, but that's not what this video is about anyways. So we're also going to get some food at the cafe. This is not really the type of place you go to for a meal per se, but they have really good snacking food. Taylor doesn't like coffee, she got a Dr. Pepper, but I love coffee, and I ordered my go-to at any place, which is an iced Americano, which I loved. I feel like a lot of times when I order an iced Americano, it tends to be either like very watery or overly bitter. This one was actually really sweet. I really enjoyed it. I would have had 3 more had we not been racking up the price with all the food we were getting. We started by ordering buff chick bites and orange goat. Their menu actually referred to these as glorified bagel bites. They basically just put stuff on little slices of French bread. The buff chick bites were buffalo chicken dip with cheddar and tomato and green onions. I normally wouldn't like just raw tomatoes on things, but the acidic sauciness that it added just went so well with the spice. It was so good. The orange goat snacks was just orange marmalade on top of goat cheese on top of the bread. I'm not usually a fan of goat cheese just from a texture standpoint, but there was something about the orange marmalade that the flavor of it and the texture of that, I think, outweighed the goat cheese, but like together they just tasted so good. You get pretty decent sized plates when you order these, and I could have just snacked on these all day. They also have a little selection of flatbread pizzas you can get. We ordered the Tabletop Classic, which is basically just a margarita pizza. It was so good. It's not a very extensive menu, but for food to just have while you're snacking and playing board games, it was all so amazing. So let's get into the games we played. The one that Taylor was looking for specifically when we went in was this game called Sky Team. It's a 2-player only game where you play as a pilot and a co-pilot and you're trying to safely land an airplane. It's a game where you roll dice and then assign those dice to different things that either call an airplane out of the way of your route, or hit the brakes, or let out the landing gear. And you have, I think, 7 rounds to make all of that happen, and you're not allowed to talk to your partner during the actual gameplay. It's only in between the rounds that you get a chance to sort of work out your strategy together. But the rest of the time, you're just in silence watching what your partner's doing and trying to decide, okay, well, they did that, so I'll try to do this. It was actually very overwhelming when we opened up the box and started looking at how many pieces there were. We were setting up the beginner game, and there were still so many pieces left, and we were like, oh my god, what is all of this? And one of the staff members must have seen our confused faces and offered a little help. He came by and told us, hey, just so you know, you don't gotta worry about half the stuff that's on the table right now. You can put those back in the box. The beginner's game only needs these few pieces you have. We were like, thank you, because it was starting to get way too overwhelming, and we thought maybe we bit off more than we could chew. Once we knew that and we got the rest of the pieces put away, the rest was smooth sailing. Aside from the fact that there were just a couple pieces missing, I guess this is just what happens when you play with all these games that have been very well loved. It was really no problem for us. I always keep a pocket notebook and a multi-tool on me, so I just traced a couple of the pieces that were there and cut them out with scissors and made our own pieces. Anyway, we played the beginner game of Sky Team, and we played it very cautiously, not really knowing if we were doing anything right. It started getting a little tense around the middle, but by the end we were able to figure it all out, and we ended up landing our plane safely. I'd highly recommend Sky Team as a 2-player game. It's kind of fun to see where you and your partner are both differing in strategy and trying to work it out in the moment. And at least for the beginner game, it gives you a lot of backup. So if you don't like your rolls, you can re-roll them. Or you have little coffee cups that basically let you cheat and change the number of one of your dice rolls. So the beginner game is really fun, and I'm sure we'll play the harder difficulties someday soon. The next game we tried out was a game called Calico. I'm pretty sure Taylor picked this one off the shelf purely because of the cute cat on the box. So in this game, every player is more or less playing their own game on their board. You're basically just trying to make a quilt on your board by filling in the pieces with different patterned and colored tiles. If you connect a certain grouping of patterns together, then you get a cat token. And if you get certain groupings of colors together, you get a button token. And each of those have certain point values assigned to them. The difficulty really comes from the goal tiles. All the tiles you place around these have to meet a certain requirement, like one of every color or pattern, or one that you need 3 of a certain color or pattern, and then another 3 of a different color or pattern. We were a little confused on those rules, and we were kind of figuring it out as we played. I didn't figure it out quite as fast, and Taylor smoked me, as you can see by our point card. Oh yeah, this one's supposed to come with a scorecard pad, and it wasn't there. So once again, I just wrote it in my notebook. There's a piece included in the box that just says Master Quilter on it, and they want you to take a selfie of yourself with it and post it on social media with their hashtag or whatever. We didn't do that, but I did take a picture of the button. But anyways, Calico is a pretty cute and cozy game. Like I said, you're kind of just focusing on your own board. The only way you can really fuck over other players is if you take a tile from the center that's one they need as well. So the last one we played was one called Unmatched, Battle of Legends. It's kind of D&D-like. You have little figures that you move around the board. Your characters each have their own unique deck of cards. These all have different powers and effects related to them. In the one we played, you could play as Medusa, King Arthur, Sinbad, and Alice from Alice in Wonderland. It's honestly really cool, just the amount of creativity on display that they use to take these legends and literary figures and make them badass D&D type characters. And you also get little health meters in the form of these little dials. That's pretty fun. And some of the heroes have sidekicks as well, which are extra pieces that can move around the board. Taylor played as Medusa with an army of harpies. I played as Sinbad, and my sidekick was the Porter. Anyways, I had a lot of fun with this, but Taylor kicked my ass once again. And this concluded our time at Tabletop Board Game Cafe. We really had fun and definitely want to go again. If you're ever in Cleveland, Ohio, and you like board games, I'd definitely recommend it. We weren't quite ready to go home yet, so after board games, we decided to walk down the street a little bit and check out the West Side Market. This is just a huge market area with a bunch of local family-owned businesses. It's a great place to pick up meats and produce and baked goods, and we hadn't done our grocery shopping yet, so we decided we'd go down and check it out. On our walk over, we saw this cool mural saying, "Everyone's welcome here." That's nice. We got sidetracked, however, when we noticed a bookstore with some pretty cool discounts on display. The place was called Index Coffee and Books. We love checking out bookstores, and I like coffee, so we went in. It was pretty quiet. We were the only people in there, and there was only one employee behind the counter. But the place went all the way back. There were so many shelves of books, all categorized. Now, the thing about their crazy discounts, if you buy one book, it's 50% off. If you buy 2 books, it's 60% off. And if you buy 3 or more books, they're 70% off. We thought we better take advantage of this deal. I found myself in the classics section, because aside from manga and comic books, my interest in reading is kind of just classic literature. And the books in the classics section were really eye-catching. I noticed a lot of them were all published by Paper Mill Press, and they all had really cool cover and spine decoration. I ended up buying The Three Musketeers, The Arabian Nights, and Julius Caesar. I also got another coffee on my way out. So between that one, the one I had at Tabletop, and the one I had for breakfast that morning, I had 3 coffees that day, and I was wired. Anyways, after our bookstore adventure, we decided to continue down to Westside Market, only to realize that they closed early on Fridays. So our day kind of ended there. But hey, we played a lot of fun board games, and we bought a couple books on sale. Successful day. Anyways, we had so much fun with the board games we played that day that we ended up ordering all 3 of them. We bought Sky Team, we bought Calico, and we bought another version of Unmatched. Unmatched apparently makes a bunch of different versions of their game, but they're all played in the same system and can be mix and matched. I think that's pretty cool. But we didn't know which one we wanted. We could have stuck with the Volume 1 that we played at the Board Game Cafe. But there were 2 other volumes in that series and a bunch of others. They do a bunch of licensed ones too. But we were most intrigued by this one called Cobble and Fog. In this one you can play as the Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula, or Sherlock Holmes. That one just seemed really cool to us. Since then, we played all the games again. We familiarized ourselves with the Sky Team beginner game again. We keep playing Calico, and I have yet to win one. And we've played Cobble and Fog, where Taylor was Dracula and I played the Invisible Man. All of these games are really fun, and I'd highly recommend them. But yeah, that concludes the little outing we had on Friday. Anyways, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.